Hello, everybody. Welcome again to Heal the Shadow in Your Relationships. And today I am so pleased to have with us the lovely Cherry Norris. Hi, Cherry.
Hi, how are you? I'm so happy to be here with you.
So happy to have you. And I'm going to tell everybody a little bit about you. Cherry Norris calls herself a former dating disaster, but she is currently in a hot, happy marriage. And she's here to help you meet and marry your man. So since 2002, Cherry has been coaching smart, savvy single women and giving fun, fail-proof tips and practical advice to help them have better relationships with men. Having experienced everything she teaches, Cherry has been there, done it, botched it, learned it, and now she's here to help you. She even made, wow, a full-length feature film called Duty Dating. That's exciting. A romantic comedy about a woman who must navigate the perils of dating to ultimately learn and meet and marry her man. And based on the best-selling book, Getting to I Do by Dr. Pat Allen. You know, that book really influenced me too.
It's a big one.
It's a biggie, yeah. So Cherry applied what she learned about dating and relationships. And oh, this sounds so romantic. She met her man Lorenzo while sailing the Amalfi Coast in Italy. Oh, bella bella. They,
Guarda che bella.
they recently celebrated their 10-year wedding anniversary. So congratulations on that, Cherry.
You.
Woohoo! So we are here talking about how to heal the shadow in our relationships. So Cherry, tell us, what is your particular take on what is the shadow in our relationships?
In the simplest form, I think the shadow represents our fear. And often we lean to the shadow when we want to protect ourselves from getting hurt or putting ourselves out there or taking risks or exploring parts of ourselves that can actually give us what we want. We're more afraid of the light than we are of the dark. I was reading a little of Carolyn Mace's work. I'm a big fan of her work as well.
Yeah.
And she was talking about when a room is dark and someone brings in a candle, they don't hide it behind the furniture. They usually put it on the table. And yet, as human beings, often we want to put our light behind the furniture so it doesn't shed as much light as we can truly own in ourselves, which I think is kind of a fascinating phenomenon.
It's absolutely fascinating. Why do you think people want to default to the area of their fear?
Because it's safer. They don't have to put themselves out there. They don't have to go for what they want. They can give themselves excuses to stay small. I'm too old. There are not enough men out there. All the good ones are taken. I mean, these are stories that actually keep you safe and single.
And I hear every single one of those that you say all the time. But the trouble with the comfort zone is then you don't get what you want, and you're not expressing your happiness, not finding your happiness. So,
however, I'm going to counter that in saying a lot of times you do find satisfaction and fulfillment not getting what you want. Because
whoa.
when you pull out the victim side of yourself, there's a lot of sympathy towards the victim. And the victim can feel very good in knowing that others are concerned or pity, and console. And so that's a PowerPoint.
Wow, yeah, you really nailed that one. How many of us don't even realize that we're just looking for sympathy and we want to, lick our wounds and oh my goodness, you can't imagine what happened to me, what I've been through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we also are afraid to test our faith. So we sell out. We sell out.
Yeah.
And we settle for less than what we really want to experience because we're afraid that if we really go for what we want, there will be no net and we will die.
That is such a good point. We will die. I know I have felt it in my darkest moments. And when you wake up out of that space, you go, God, that was so dramatic of me.
Yeah.
How did I go there? And yet, I tell everybody these feelings are from such a long time ago in
Oh,
our history, that when we were babies and we experienced something that triggered our fear, it was absolutely true that we could die.
mhm.
And that's where it comes from, because we're so dependent on our caregivers. If we are waking up in our crib alone and there's nobody around and we're crying and we feel like no one's coming to our rescue, my goodness, we could die.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And also, too, the isolation part. When we really go for what we are called to experience, often we have to voluntarily separate ourselves from the tribe because we're going against the premise of everything that everyone has taught us is acceptable. And sometimes when we heed our own calling, it means stepping outside of that or moving away or charting a different course. And that isolation is also very terrifying when you really are listening to yourself. I mean, we hear about people getting famous and oh, how glamorous it sounds, except when we tap into their isolation for what they had to go through and how they lived their lives,
Yeah.
it's not so glamorous anymore.
Right. In constant fear of the paparazzi and having to disguise themselves when they go out in public. And
Exactly.
it's like a prison.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. They're very isolated.
Yeah. Well, I want to encourage all our viewers, if you are afraid of that isolation, once you take that step out and you take that risk, you can find your safety net. You can find the people around you that actually have the new kind of thinking that you're wanting to move into.
That's right. And
And you,
that's where the faith piece of it comes in.
yeah, and you can find your mate just like Cherry did.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's all a risk. Relationships are a risk. I mean, that on my wedding day, I was in Pat Allen's office and I said, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. Not exactly what you would expect someone to say on their wedding day, but I did. And Pat looked at me and said, do you have faith you will survive it if it doesn't work out? And I said, yes. And she said, then get married.
That is such a good point. Do you have faith in yourself, and do you have faith? So this kind of brings me to the point that a lot of women need to get strong in their confidence with themselves in order to be able to take these risks. I mean, don't you find that is like one of the most fundamental things to help you bring in a relationship you love?
Absolutely. And confidence, absolutely. I would say ownership. Ownership of who you are and who you're being, and conscious of what it is you're creating. I don't believe that a lot of women, I don't think we're trained, honestly, to take ownership of ourselves. I was raised to please others first. So when I take ownership, often I feel selfish, but there is a distinction. Selfish is all for me, and nothing for you. Selfless is all for you and nothing for me. Self-centered is I feel good to do good. I fill my well, and then I have energy left over to give back to you.
I gotta have you clarify that. That to me, it was a surprising definition.
Mm-hmm.
Selfish, we understand.
Self,
Self-centered is
mm-hmm.
all for you and nothing for me. How?
Oh no. Selfish is like me, and
Right.
nothing for you.
Nothing for
It's
you.
all about me. Give me more. That's selfish.
Right.
I'm never satisfied. I always want more. I want the bigger house, the better man, the better clothes, the better job, the more money. I'm never satisfied with what I got. That's a black hole in space, as Stephen
Yes.
Hawking would say.
Yes.
No, selfish. All in, nothing coming back. Selfless is all going out.
Oh, selfless. Okay, I
Selfless,
didn't get it. Okay, selfless.
all going out. Like I will self-sacrifice for your pleasure. I will die for you. I will give to you before filling my own soul.
Yes.
Self-centered is the mantra that I coach my clients to own, which is I feel good to do good. I feel good, I feel my well, and then I give back to you in joy and appreciation and fun, whatever that looks like. Help, service, aid. So it's really important, I believe, for women especially, to drop in to their bodies and go into a deeper place of listening to what it is we're really called to do. And I think we're cut off. I think our heads and our bodies are just very out of alignment a lot of times. And this is why we get dis-ease. This is why we get sick. Do too much. We give too much. We're out there performing, wanting to be picked instead of, wait a minute, I'm taking ownership of who I'm being. And I'm looking for a man who will offer me more value than I can create for myself when we're looking for relationships. But we can look to the world for that, like in any situation.
Absolutely.
Feel good to do good. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you talk about feeling good to do good, you have to feed yourself. Yeah. So what are some good ways that women can feed themselves in order to feel good? And a lot of women think it's about bubble baths and giving themselves treats and taking themselves to the store and, buying nice little baubles, and all that stuff is good, but you have a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's nice. If you're not feeling good, go out and get something for yourself, right? Breathing. Breathing will drop you right down in there quicker than anything.
Yes.
Doing anything that gets you in your body. I mean, even if it's putting on music and just moving. We're so stuck. We just clamp down. So just feeling how your body moves is one way to start accessing it as well. Stillness. Just being still. And this is not easy to do too, because there's so much going on and there's so many distractions going on, and we feel like if we're still, then we're going to miss out on something. And it's actually the opposite. When I get really still, I can get still with my dog, because he's the most present entity I experience. I'm amazed at what he teaches me in just being in the moment and taking in what's important, what's in his presence at that very moment. Like he can be, yesterday we went out chasing the ball. I throw the ball, he brings the ball back to me, but on the way, there's something interesting to explore, so he drops the ball and goes and sniffs. And I'm like, we as humans are not programmed to do that. We'll bring the ball back and we'll forget anything in the path.
Yeah, very narrow focus. Yeah. I notice on your website that you say there's a reason that we're so confused in romance, and it's not by accident. There's no secret why you're single, and it's not your fault. Modern society has set you up for failure when it comes to modern romance. So I'd love you to speak to that.
Well, it is true. I mean, if we go back through the history, and I won't take a lot of time with this, but men and women needed each other back in the caveman days to survive. Men went out and hunted, women tended the nest in the community and prepared the food and raised the children. Then we fast forwarded to more modern times where economically we needed each other to survive, when only men were going out in the workplace and women stayed home and raised the children and made the food. And then when World War II hit, women for the first time went out into the workplace to support the men at war and discovered, wow, I can make my own money. I don't need to stay home and have some man bring it home to me. And then we fast forward to 60s and the burning of the bra and free lib and the big game changer, the birth control pill. And women thought, okay, we can have sex like a man, we can live like a man, we are equal to a man. And what happened was we got off balance because even though we are, equal to men in many ways, when it comes to sexual encounters, men don't have the body chemistry that a woman has. We bond easier, so we get glued faster. So there's that difference. The other thing is our bodies aren't made to go out and fight. We get sick unless we're really, really masculine, and about a third of the women really are. But a lot of us have been trained into it. And so with that training to go out and get what we want, we think the same rules apply in romance and relationships, and they don't. So what ends up happening is we go competitive with the very partner that we want to be in romance with because we have no skill. Yeah. And men have lost all their hunting skills. I have a handyman that comes and helps me do things around our house when they're too big of jobs for me to figure out. And Lorenzo is not really that's not his thing. So he was asking me to help him with his dating profile. So rework that. And that night I went out and had dinner with a beautiful, gorgeous girlfriend who's single and looking. And so I was like, wow, would you be interested in meeting this man? And she's like, yes, I would. So she's open. I go back to him and I say, I found you a great woman and here's her number. And I think you'll have a lot in common. And I mean, he wrote me back and he was like, thank you for your thoughtfulness. However, this is very awkward because I don't like blind dates and I don't want to meet her. Oh. And I thought, well, right there it is. You're single for a reason. You're not willing to take a risk. If you want to meet a man or a woman or have a romance, you got to put yourself out there today. You got to put yourself out there.
Yeah, I feel so bad for him because, it was an opportunity. And you know what? With every single date, we learn so much about ourselves. And it's such important information to find out what you do like, what you don't like, what you'll stand for, what you can't tolerate. I mean, how else can you learn until you get involved?
And often I think people, like in this situation, it was first impression kind of thing. And that's what we do. If we see their picture online or on Facebook or on a profile, and we have a 3-second judgment. I always say this, if I saw I did have a 3-second judgment when I first recognized my husband. I mean, when I really saw him, and my reaction was cute, young, no way. There's no way we would have met online. There's no way I would have given him a chance if I didn't have the skills that I have and just stayed open to the whatever. And because we were on a small boat in the middle of the sea, there was time for him to circle me and get in my ears. But my first reaction was no way. And if someone had said, I've got somebody to set you up with, and they said it's Lorenzo, I probably would have said, what are you thinking? So it's important to go out and just get past that exterior and give the person at least 3 shots, because everybody's weird on the first date. You have no idea who you get. Talk about the shadow side. We start putting up all this stuff that isn't even us because we're so nervous and we want to be liked. And by date 2 and 3, we start dropping in a little more and the real essence of ourselves starts to appear. So give a man 3 dates before you say,
yeah. See. That's such a good point, because we tend to go out there with, like you say, we live kind of from the neck up. And so it's all about the intellectual and we're knocking down the stuff on our list. I met my husband 4.5 years before we got together.
Wow.
And I kept seeing other guys. At that time, I was really interested in the ones that were really bad for me. And so I wasn't experiencing the necessary danger and warning signs from my husband that I was getting off on with the other guys. So I kept praying, God, please send me my soulmate. I feel my soulmate is here, all that stuff, affirmations. Every 6 months, I ran into my husband. But it was like, no, I'm not getting the necessary feeling here. I still am more interested in these more dangerous guys until I had to work through that stuff, and it took us 4.5 years to get together.
Well, congratulations that you got through it. I mean, that's a really big lesson and opportunity,
Yeah.
and that you got it. There, I do believe that often, if a woman wants a relationship, she has to not only shift the way she's being, and this doesn't mean changing who you are. This just means opening to a part of yourself that you haven't explored yet. And it also means changing your taste in men. And a lot of women are like, well, I know what I like, and that's what it is. Okay, fine. And how's it working for you? All right. You're used to going for men who don't want you, and that keeps you safe. When you shift your change in taste in men, you'll only be able to receive the ones who really value you and cherish you and prioritize you and come to you. And for a lot of women, when a man does come on strong, we freak out.
Sure. Yeah.
We freak out. Oh my God, he wants me too much. Oh my God, he won't leave me alone.
Yeah.
We're actually pushing away the thing that we really think we want. It's crazy.
Well,
it's crazy.
It kicks up our fear of intimacy.
Vulnerability.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is the biggest fear.
Yeah.
But that is the place where the most magic happens.
Well, the way that I explain exactly what you're talking about there is we have a personality construct that's full, the purpose of it is survival. So it's full of defense mechanisms and coping styles, and it's on, radar watching for what's dangerous out there. That's not the part of you that's going to choose your mate. You got to get beyond that to your authentic self, which is the open-hearted self, which is the greater self that has greater power for magnetism, for attraction. And if that person loves the real you, then you've got a real match.
Well, yeah, I also think your body chooses your partner.
Oh, I love that. Love that. I tell everybody the subconscious resides in the body, or the unconscious, all of our stored emotions and everything.
Right.
So yeah, so that's what's given the magnetism. Beautiful. So Cherry, tell us exactly why you do what you do. What is your vision about what you do?
My vision. Well, I do what I do because it's something that I fell into after making my film Duty Dating. Duty Dating is a romantic comedy about a woman who does all the right things to marry the wrong man. And honestly, I just, like you introduced me as, I practiced what I was teaching and met and married my husband. And my girlfriends were saying, what did you do and how can I do it? And that's when I started coaching. And one of them said, you could turn this into a business. And that was 14 years ago. So as far as a vision, I used to have this, I really did. I had this like vision of really being a spiritual guide on the planet on a really big stage. And I've shifted all of that because I still have a vision to be of service to as many people as possible, but I'm letting it show up for me. I don't have any creative, clever idea of it. I just have a feeling that I'm leaning into and allowing it to show up and present to me where I need to be.
Well, you are the important thing that I'm getting out of that is you're here to be of service. And then however it shows up in whatever way you can serve. Right. Obviously, you got a lot of wisdom. Yeah. I appreciate hearing your wisdom. Beautiful.
I feel I'm making another movie.
Oh, wow. Woohoo. That sounds fun.
Like that's, in exploring deeper into a woman's psyche and into the listening and into the feeling and into the true gift of finding oneself.
Wow, how beautiful. Well, we will definitely look forward to that. And I believe you have a special surprise and a special offer for people here listening today, viewing today.
Yeah, if you're single and looking for love, I do have a free 3-part video series that I offer. And I think what makes this so valuable and unique is that I also teach acting class, which is basically the same premise of how to date. It's 2 different portals, but the stuff is the same, which is really dropping into your authentic being and presence and listening more, talking less, this type of thing. And so I've gotten some actors from my community to actually role play and show you situations of, number one, how to attract a guy in less than 6 seconds and know if he's romantically interested within 15 minutes.
Wow.
What to do on a disastrous date, choices that you have and how you can communicate and turn it around. And then sex and commitment. How do you know it's appropriate, and at what time do you have the conversation, and what do you ask for, and how do you know where the man is coming from, and how do you set it up so you're both on the same path, as opposed to having mixed agendas and getting hurt. So that's the video series. Wow. And do you have a link that they can?
Yes, there's a link right here, right below the video.
Yeah. All right.
And yes. it's at howtomeetandmarryyourman.com, correct?
Meetandmarryyourman.com. That's right. That's fun.
Well, I so appreciate that, Cherry. That sounds like an awesome free gift for all our viewers here. And I so appreciate all the wisdom that you shared with us today. And as we close, do you have like one parting, what's the most important thing to help women get over their blocks, that fear, that shadow thing that they don't realize that might be keeping them from experiencing and getting the love that they really are craving for?
Take more risks. It's all a risk.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Short, sweet, and simple. It's true. Life is a risk.
Mm-hmm. Take more risks. Find more faith. Lean towards the faith. Listen deeper.
Yeah, and then when you take those risks, you learn more about yourself. It brings you greater confidence. You discover that you were able to survive it, and then every risk you take, you can handle greater and greater risk. Completely.
I believe a lot of women are afraid to take risks because of a fear of rejection. And here's the thing, I just love that topic, rejection, because I don't believe in it. I do believe in it from a very primal reptilian brain source, where when we were rejected by the tribe years ago, we would die. We would be killed by animals if we didn't have the protection of our people, and it is humiliating and often embarrassing to feel rejected. It's a very shameful place to be. So this is very true emotion. However, I don't believe that anyone can reject you. I really just don't. I mean, they might have their own stuff going on, but you just have to find the faith through it and know that if you own yourself, that there is no such thing. You're just putting yourself out there, taking the risk, throwing the spaghetti against the wall and seeing what happens. So surrender to the whatever. Don't be so attached.
Yeah, and if it looks like a rejection, it's because they're not your guy.
That's right. And 99% of the time, it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with where he's at and what he's up to.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Cherry, for those parting words of wisdom. I really appreciate having you here. We're going to say goodbye to everybody and stay tuned for the next episode in Heal the Shadow in Your Relationships, number 2, the second summit. So thank you again, Cherry.
Thank you.